Hi, I'm Snowy Moogle, and this is my Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights Any Percent No CE submission for AGDQ 2021. This game was released in 2002 for the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox by Heavy Iron Studios. It's a 3D platformer with a very interesting Metroidvania-style progression system where you'll need certain power-ups to get into certain levels. However, in the any percent route, we'll actually be pretty much only getting the power-ups we need to beat the final boss, skipping a whole bunch of upgrades and levels, and you'll see some very big sequence breaks towards the end of the run that allow us to do that. However, right now the main thing to notice is these snacks. These snacks are the main collectible we'll be collecting throughout the entire game. They're used to pay off snack gates that will just block off levels until we can pay off a certain amount of snacks, which means the routes we take throughout levels will not just be going through the level as fast as possible, but also be trying to get the fastest snacks possible. So snacks play a very important role in the routing we take to go through the game. Well, another thing to know with snacks is usually if you miss a snack, it's not really worth it to go back for it. They can be very slow if you miss a snack. So what'll end up happening is at certain points in the run, you'll check your snack total and see how well or poorly you're doing on snacks. And we'll slightly adjust your route on the fly, and I think that's one of the most interesting parts of running this game. Now right there, we jumped on the chandelier and got a quick 10 snacks. Those snack boxes are worth 5 snacks each, and you'll definitely notice us prioritize them throughout the run. Now, right there, I jumped off of those canvases when you're not really intended to. Those are what I call ledge jumps, and they're just these little collisions on walls that you can jump off of. And the times that they can save range from a few seconds to literal whole minutes, and those will definitely be involved in the huge sequence breaks towards the end of the run. Now, heading into Shock on the Dock Part 1, we'll see a really good example of how cycle-based this game can be. Now, on top of trying to go through the levels quickly and getting a bunch of snacks, we also need to make a bunch of cycles. So, right here, we got these 2 snacks on the top there, but we're also trying to make a certain cycle to get even more snacks right up here. So right here, there's these 2 snacks floating above a pit, but we can get those before the flying fish show up. So, on top of going fast and getting snacks, we also have to make certain cycles. And that encompasses a lot of what goes into a lot of the levels throughout the run. Now, heading into Shock 2, we're doing what's called Rubber Band Skip. So there's multiple points throughout the game and the run where we will have to do a little cooperation puzzle with Shaggy. However, there's certain tricks we can do to just skip them, and it saves a good chunk of time. But unfortunately, we will be abandoning Shaggy here. Normally, you'd lift him up on the life preserver, you'd swing off his legs onto the box on the right. However, you could just jump up to the box anyways. So you just hold up there and jump onto the box. Now, can I get the snack box? Yes, I can. That snack box isn't 100% consistent, but getting 5 snacks there definitely helps. Now, just hop on here, get this snack box, and I'm going to make sure I don't get hit by these hooks. If you get hit by those hooks, you will most likely fall into the pit below, and sends you back to the start of the level, and that costs like 15 seconds. Definitely don't want that happening. Now, if you're in the pier, definitely some very chill levels where I have a good amount of time to explain movement in this game. So Scooby normally has a walk and a run. So you saw me, I was walking on the tar and then ran right when I got off of it. So the run you just do by holding the R button. Pretty much no point where we will walk over running. However, Scooby also has a charge move, which I have been using up until this point. So the charge move has a very slow startup, or it's slower on the startup. However, once it gets a little bit of time to accelerate, it becomes faster than the run. So the charge will be reserved. Oh, the charge will be reserved for longer stretches that we need to go through, and the run will be reserved for shorter sections. So like right here, it's kind of not a long distance we have to cover. We're just gonna run there. However, you notice a lot when Scooby needs to cover distance, we'll charge. So in that level, we got the Springs power up, and the Springs power up allows us to double jump and allow us to get all those snack boxes at the end. And allows us to get that snap box right there by jumping off of those posts. Again, a lot of collisions in this game where probably not intended to jump off of them, but you can. So right here, we're going to use a warp gate. These warp gates, they're just teleportation points where you can go in between any activated warp gate. Definitely very useful for saving time throughout the run and not having to backtrack through levels. Now with the springs, we can get that key and get access to the hedge levels, and the hedge levels contain the helmet power-up. Alright, that's going to be at the end of the levels. I'll explain a little bit of the routing there after, but right now, I'll talk about a little bit how snack routing works. So when you miss a snack, of course, you normally get a slower snack later on. And you'll notice a lot of points. I did miss a snack earlier in this level. It's never really worth it to go back. So again, at certain points throughout the run, I'll just be checking my snack total to see how much I have and if I need to, or at what points I should be getting some slower snacks that I might not normally get. However, if I'm doing really well on snacks, I might skip some slower snacks I normally would get. And again, the on-the-fly routing is part of what makes this game really interesting. Right there, I was going for a ledge jump that isn't entirely consistent, but luckily doesn't really lose time, because there's a ledge you can still jump back to the platform on if you miss it. Now, Hedge 2 is another example of us going out of our way for snacks, and this is a big example of that. We're going to be doing a ledge jump up ahead called Flower Jump. Here, off of a plant up ahead, we jump here, and jump up here. We're not intended to come here until we get a later power-up, however, we're just doing this right now. And this gives us access to like 40 snacks before we're intended to. Okay, this camera is very annoying. Oh, okay. The camera can be very annoying. You have to hit like certain points for it to switch to fixed angles. And if you don't hit all the points sometimes, like I didn't do there, that can happen. Where normally the camera would be like this on the side, but it wasn't there, and that was unfortunate. But not a huge deal. Now heading into Hedge 3, we'll be doing our first big sequence break of the game. So the layout of the map here, we're supposed to go to the end of the hedge maze, which contains the helmet power-up. And the end of the hedge maze also is a path to a later section of the game. And in those later levels is actually a shortcut back to Hedge 3, this level. And we're not intended to use that shortcut right now, but we can actually clip through the gate and get to those later levels much earlier than intended. We just hold up left there and clip through the gate. And yeah, that gives us access to Misbehave and Cause a Cave-In, a level we're really not intended to be at for at least another, like, 2-ish hours if you were playing this game casually. So there's a really big sequence break, and the reason we do this is actually it just turns out going through these later levels backwards is faster than going through the hedge levels as intended. And the snacks are still really good in these levels, so that's not really an issue. Oh, these fishes are not in good locations. Okay, yeah, got hit there. Not a huge deal. Those fishes can be annoying. We do a certain route through this level to hopefully manipulate them, but it doesn't always work out. But no big deal. Heading into Skull Cliff. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're heading through these levels backwards, which, for the level layouts themselves, surprisingly doesn't pose much of a challenge, at least for which platforms you have to make. However, the camera is definitely not in our favor. So again, the camera in this game is pretty much fixed the entire time with what it wants to show you. So like right here, the camera is going is facing the opposite of what Scooby is going. So this level involves a lot of just knowing the layout and where you're supposed to jump. Otherwise, it can be either very slow or very dangerous, because the death in this level, this is actually the biggest level in any percent. It luckily does have a midpoint checkpoint, but again, it can still be very dangerous. So I know there's a platform on the left there that will be coming in there. This level is also very cycle-based. Usually if you waste like a little bit of time, like I'm very used to the cycle I'm going on. If I maybe like made a mistake that put me like a second behind, it'll definitely like throw me off. So doing here, these jumps can be kind of dangerous if you do single jumps there, but they give you a little bit of a boost as those platforms are tilting. So going around those rocks, we're doing one last kind of scary jump at the end here. We're jumping towards this platform, and that is the end of Skull 4. Now, Skull 3 is a pretty chill level, not really too much going on. We're going to do an early jump on an upcoming platform cycle to make sure we make another cycle. Now, we're going to wait for this platform to move, and then we're going to jump right away. Try and get all those snacks. Okay, don't always get all those snacks. So, these enemies up ahead, if we were slower, that Ghost Diver would have been in the way at the start of that arc, and that Caveman would have been in the way at the end. And usually you just skip those snacks if they were in the way. However, if you don't, it can definitely be very troubling. Now here we're going to give the fish a little bit of time to move out of the way. Moving through these levels backwards, that fish is just directly in your face as you enter here. So give him some time to let us get those snacks. Another thing to note in Skull 2 is some of these platforms are close enough that we don't have to jump across them, like right there. So it saves a couple seconds or so, just letting us charge instead of jumping. Now, Skull 1, I'm going to be doing what'll look like a scary ledge jump, but is safer than you might think. So right here, we're going to jump off and jump on the wall. I almost thought I failed it there, but there we go. We can jump off the wall, and we don't have to wait for that platform anymore. Now, heading up here, this is actually the end of the Skull Cliff levels. If you're playing this casually, this is the beginning of the Skull Cliff levels. But since we are at the end of the Skull Cliff levels, this actually leads to Hill 3. And Hill 3 is the level with the helmet at the end of the Hedge maze. So normally you'd come to Hill 3 through the Hedge maze, and then you'd come back to Hill 3 later when you have a future power-up. But we definitely did that out of order. Now here we're trying to make what's called boulder cycles. So I got those extra snacks on the left, but we also want to do our movement really well because there's a boulder up ahead, which if we're fast enough, we can get these 4 snacks and move just around that boulder at the right time. That's a very satisfying cycle to make. And the rest of Hill, not too much going on, just timing our charges properly. We get to do kind of a ledge jump right here. These very big rocks that we can jump off of and skip those platforms. Just getting a bunch of snacks, avoiding these scarecrows, and now we have the helmet power-up. Now we can use this to defeat enemies, break open boxes, and hit switches. And now that we have it, we're actually going to be doing our next big sequence break of the game. Funnily enough, not involving the helmet. But we're going to Fishy Clues for Scooby-Doo, which we need to defeat the Black Knight, the first boss, to get through. However, we can jump on a ledge and just jump over an invisible wall there. So normally, all they did to prevent you from getting in here without that power-up was put an invisible wall. However, that invisible wall was way too low. They unfortunately didn't put enough effort into that. So we can actually just jump over it and head into Fishy Clues much earlier than expected. Like, maybe another third through the game. So the Fishy Clues levels, I think, at least I know from playing this game casually and talking to people who have played this game casually, it's not that fun. But in this speedrun, it's actually one of my favorite sections of the game. So dealing with those conveyor belts can be very annoying when you play through casually. However, once you know the routes and how to weave around and get snacks and avoid enemies and such, it can be very fun. Another thing is Fishy 2 here is a really interesting level in the speedrun. So I talked a little bit earlier about how snacks will affect your time in terms of maybe you can save or lose time depending on how many snacks you have. So Fishy 2 is all about making cycles while also seeing how many snacks you can get at the same time. So I'm going to get that snack there. Okay. Oh, I missed a snack by going for that extra snack. And Fishy 2 is all about seeing how many extra snacks you can get while also still making the cycles. While at the same time, the cycle at the end being pretty generous. So I'm getting all these snacks here. Getting here, gonna get the key. We also did need to collect 4 keys to get to the end of the level. And as we come here, the platform is coming down. And get these 4 snacks, and just make our way to the end. So Fishy 2 is a level you're never really going to directly lose or save time on, but how many snacks you get in that level will definitely affect your time later on. So Fishy 3, hold right at the start, and we're going to jump over that invisible wall. Snacks are actually looking really good right now. So I'm going to just get a few snacks here. And we are actually over-snacked right now. Which is nice, it just means I can potentially skip some snacks later. Oh, okay, that was kind of risky. The camera was not with me there when I jumped off of that trampoline to get into the door, but luckily that worked out. Now, Fishy 4, again, is a lot of using these conveyor belts, which could be very annoying casually, but in the speedrun, it can be a lot of fun. Now getting these snacks here, I'm just gonna jump down to the floor right away. Skipping a few snacks, that would be a little bit slower normally. And 10:07 is a pretty good total for this point. Normally I'd want like 10:08, but 10:07, it's one snack down. Still very good. Now, okay, trying to get as many snacks here. Pier 1 is it's a pretty chill level, just kind of a transitionary level in between Fishy Clues and Coast for some Ghosts, the next big section of the run. Not really too much going on, pretty much just snack collection with like minimal tricks or whatever. So definitely a good level to get like 1 or 2 donations in as we head to Coast for some Ghosts, the next big section of the run. So one thing I didn't mention earlier was when Scooby charges, his hitbox actually becomes extremely narrow. And what that does is Scooby basically can't be damaged while he is doing his charge attack. So what we'll do is we're going to try and weave around enemies, just like right here. Going to weave around this caveman. That caveman would normally have hit Scooby if he wasn't charging. However, because Scooby's hitbox is so narrow, the caveman did not hit me. And so what that does is as long as Scooby's... Hang on, cutscene skip right here. Jump onto that post. That is a very precise cutscene skip. Sorry, the charging, as long as Scooby's head doesn't hit them, because if Scooby's head hits them, it counts as, like, attacking the enemy, and that's pretty slow. You plays, like, the bonking animation, that's, like, a second. So we obviously don't want that. So as long as Scooby's head doesn't hit the enemy, Scooby can basically just, like, move around them. And we'll see that used, a lot more in a few upcoming levels. Another thing to note is Coast 1 here is, I believe, one of the levels where we get the most snacks throughout the run. That, like, background section and this section right here give us just a ton of snacks. We need to get 4 keys in these boxes, and also in these boxes is just a ton of snack boxes. So that's really nice. Gonna use the charge right here. That fish did not hit me because I was charging. And right there as well. Being able to use the charge that way is just super important for running this game. And I'm going to do it again right here. So I'm going to go for what's called Zero Cycle. And I'm doing very specific charges and timings so that I can get to the end here and get these 2 snack boxes before that box comes down. And that saves a few seconds. One thing to note is these snack boxes here are actually high enough where you need to double jump to get them in the PS2 and Xbox versions. And that is part of why we run the GameCube version for this game. It's definitely a weird gameplay change they made. So Coast 3, pretty chill for like the first half. We're just kind of heading left, avoiding these pretty easy to dodge flying fishes. Oh, need to get that snack box. And snack total is looking pretty good right now. And we're going to get hit by this fish here. And with the iframes, we're going to run across the water, which would normally be a one-hit kill. And give us access to the coast boats. And these coast boats give us like 40 snacks or something in a pretty short amount of time. And I'm going to jump onto this net at the end. And we will just head right back to the main area. Okay, got hit there. Not a big deal. And that is the end of Coast for some Ghosts. Coast can definitely be a pretty big reset point if you're on a PB grind, which sucks because it's definitely towards the later end of the run. Now, Which Way is kind of like Pier, where it's a kind of transitionary level. Not really too much going on, just going through fast, getting some snacks. One thing is the side path here can be kind of annoying with trying to get all these snacks, because as you can see, the camera is just facing away from Scooby. So you basically just memorize the line those snacks are in. Okay, just charge around that guy. And we're going to make our way to the lighthouse. And the lighthouse is actually just like the perfect example of using the charge to get around enemies. This is actually one of my favorite levels throughout the entire run. It's just all about movement. So we hit that switch up there, which sends the light to the top of the lighthouse. And that actually contains our next power-up. And we are racing it to the top. So we are going to also try and get as many snacks as possible. So hitting that switch earlier than intended definitely puts us against the clock. And we are going to try and just move around all of these enemies. With how early we hit it, we can afford to take 2 bonks or getting hit twice as we make our way to the top. So again, I got hit once. Not a huge deal, like lose a second, but as long as I don't get hit twice, we're not going to lose even more time. So I can get those snack boxes. Normally the store would close, and here we go. We got the final power-up we are getting in the run. That's Super Smash. It is a ground pound move. I used it right there to unlock the next section. And with that, we actually have everything we need to beat the game. So if you play this game casually, you know there's actually like a whole other half of the game we'd normally have to go to. There's actually the point we'd normally go to Skull Cliffs. But with this, with certain tricks, we can actually just go beat the game with what we have. So I'm going to move around these hooks. These hooks can also be very dangerous. Sometimes they hit you and also push you off, and that costs like 15-20 seconds. So that can be very annoying. So Snatch Hole looking pretty good. And we're going to actually make our way around back to Which Way. And in Which Way, there was actually this top section here, where there's a bunch more snacks. And we're going to collect those. I should end this with maybe like 750-ish? Or even more than that. So we're going to go here, and there's a warp gate here. And we will go back to Shock on the Dock Part 2. Because with the Super Smash, we get access to creepy crawlies in the hallways. Oh, got ready to split there and took my hands off the controller. And in this level, this actually will take us to the final level of the game. So we're going to get hit by a bat here. Get this hidden snack box that's behind there. Oh, don't want to deal with Captain Moody there. Captain Moody can be very annoying. That the rain jacket goes. Oh, I need health. Definitely want to make sure I don't die here. Just going to go around, get some quick snacks. Make our way through the level. Normally, Creepy Crawlies is supposed to be like a junction point to multiple sections. And you're normally only supposed to come here for a power-up. But it also connects to the final levels of the game. And we're gonna use that to go just beat the game right now. With a few specific ledge jumps. Now, Creepy Part 2, we'll be collecting 4 keys to unlock a door. And you're saying they're above these bubbling cauldrons. Now, these cauldrons, the bubbles actually deal damage to you, as you saw right there. However, if we're precise enough, we can get those keys without getting hit by the bubbles. Now, I'm going to get some snacks in the cage right here. Get a few extra snacks in the wall here. And this is the second time we are skipping Shaggy. He is in the cell to our right, but there's a ledge right here we can use to get the key. And we're going to do what's called Redbeard Skip right here. This actually skips defeating the third boss in the game. It's just a ledge jump here, ledge jump there, and that is a huge chunk of the game just skipped. Normally you'd need a power-up to get up this. Now I'm going to do GGS right here. I'm going to be quiet for this. Oh. Okay, that's the hardest trick in the game. GGS right there. That skips the green ghost. Normally you'd fight the green ghost and you'd get an umbrella that lets you literally float to the top of this level. However, we can do those ledge jumps right there and it takes us right to the top. And that is actually like the hardest trick in the game. But with that and Redbeard Skip, we literally skip a huge just chunk of the game is just not played, at least in any percent. Now Snackdoll is looking really nice right now. Okay, so I'm going to do what's called rail jump here. Okay, there we go. That was really nice. So normally in this room, you'd have to... The floor is actually a one-shot kill right here. And we'd obviously like to avoid that. But the normal way to go through this level is you'd go across those moving beds, and you have to hit some switches in the back, and it's very slow. And jumping up, like, in the back there saves actually, like, a minute or two. It's a very nice time save. Now, Lido Skip is the last, like, kind of skip of the game. We do some ledge jumps there. You can just kind of walk along the back of the room and then do a ledge jump off of the wall, and it skips the entire, like, final levels of the game pretty much. At least the last 2 levels. Now, Shark Room, this is the final moment where we're gonna skip cooperating with Shaggy. So he is unfortunately hung above a shark-infested pool. But unfortunately for him, we can clip through the door at the back by, once again, we're just going to hold an angle, kind of like Skull Cliff Skip. We're just going to hold an angle. We're just going to hold up left on the D-pad, and we can just clip through there. Now, we left Shaggy in there. We didn't technically save him. However, hang on. However, he's safe right here. So Shaggy was fine all along. He was able to save himself. Now we're going to clip into the final boss room. right here. We're just going to hold upright and charge into the door. And this actually skips the first phase of the final boss. We can hit these switches right away. So that skips a phase. Unfortunately, it does not play the final boss music, which is amazing. But oh well, gotta go fast. Oh, okay, so the final boss is unfortunately just kind of like an enemy rush type thing. We gotta kill those enemies, and then the switches unlock, and we get to hit them. And we'll be doing that one more time. Electricity is going to turn back on. Wait a second, start charging, and we should hit the Funland robot very quickly. These Funland robots, the blue and purple dudes, we actually have to charge into and then super smash them. As opposed to pretty much any other enemy in the game, which will die to just a super smash. Hitting those switches, time will be coming up very shortly. I'm going to knock the Mastermind into the electricity. Now, this is actually the only point of RNG in the entire run where the Mastermind spawns. So I'm going to deal with these Funland robots. I'm going to delay killing them so they don't respawn quickly. We're going to see where the Mastermind spawns. Oh, that is a very nice spawn. So I'm going to Super Smash into him, charge into him, knock him there, and just wait for the electricity to show up. And time. So 25:55. That is actually a very nice time. So that is Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights, any percent, no CE. I think this game is a ton of fun to watch a speedrun of. A ton of cool movement tricks, and there's the on-the-fly routing with the snack routes. So I very much believe this game has a lot to bring to GDQ. So thank you so much for watching this to the end. I hope you had a good time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.